So I came onto the council when Wendie was here on the council. And I am so sad that you're leaving because it's going to be a very different council without you not being here. I have learned a lot from you. One of the things I was saying is that, I've learned a lot about Jewish spiritual direction. I've learned a lot about your traditions. And we're a group that's pretty honest and open with each other. And so that's been very helpful to see the sacred through your eyes, which always broadens my view of the sacred. So I will miss you, dear friend. And I'm deeply appreciative of all you have done to serve on this council.
And I would like to join and from my perspective and also from the staff's perspective to say a big thank you to Wendie. I've been on this council. I'm coming up on finishing my 4th year, and Wendie was on the council that hired me. And she and I have covered lots of ground in the last 4 years together. And I can say that she is one of the most passionate and committed, but also contemplative and reflective and introspective. And so she really kind of covers lots of different bases beautifully. Also immensely compassionate, kind person. And so it's a lot of mixed feelings. 6 years is a long time at SDI, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about those years from Wendie now. But Wendie, a big thank you from me for everything you've done for me and for this organization, and we're eternally grateful. So with that said, Wendie, we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'm Wendie Bernstein-Lash. I'm a cisgendered Jewish woman, and I use the pronouns she and her. I'm speaking today to you from Redwood City, California, which is on the historical land of the Lamshan tribelet of the Ramaytush people, who are part of the Ohlone Costanoan language group, and I honor them and their ancestry here. It has been an honor to serve on the coordinating council. It's been a lot of fun too, but it's been an honor to serve on the coordinating council of SDI for the past 6 years. The coordinating council provides governance for SDI and the executive director and helps strategically shape it. For me, being an SDI member and being on the council has also helped shape me as a spiritual director and as a person. I joined SDI as a student member when I was in the beginning of my training to become a spiritual director. And I went to my first conference after that. It was a pretty powerful experience. At that conference, I found a place where I could talk to others about my spirituality and my spiritual experiences in ways that were not yet available in my Jewish circles and beyond my training cohort and my teachers. Over time, I offered workshops at the SDA conferences actually, and participated in committees and developed programming for the Leadership Institute and content for the website. And I was very honored to be selected to be part of the coordinating council 6 years ago. I have grown and I continue to grow as a spiritual director because of my active participation in SDI. And I have developed lifelong friendships with colleagues, all of those that you see here in the coordinating council, Seifu, and whose experience and wisdom I treasure. And although SDI was the initial place that I could finally talk openly about my spirituality, until recently, I didn't feel like I could fully be myself here. When I joined SDI, it was mostly a Christian organization that welcomed and invited me as a Jew. But being welcomed isn't the same as being truly part of the culture. 4.5 years ago, I think I got the numbers right, Seifu. I was fortunate to be part of the coordinating council that hired Reverend Seifu as our new executive director, knowing that he could help fulfill a vision of an SDI that was truly inclusive and even more vibrant because of that inclusivity. Today, 18 years after first becoming a member, I'm proud to have helped be part of making SDI an organization that is achieving its vision on so many levels. A thriving network of practice that is inclusive and welcoming to people of all genders, races, traditions, and faiths, and to those who are spiritual but not religious. We still have much more to do to make everyone truly feel welcome here. But at this particular time, it's also important to take a moment to reflect on and acknowledge the distance that we at SDI have come so far. So today, I know many others also feel that we can now bring all parts of ourselves here. And so I want to invite us in SDI fashion to take a pause, to reflect and acknowledge that growth and how it may have impacted you. So please just take a moment. Thank you. Growth is exciting and beautiful, and there are also costs that come with it. SDI has had and still has its growing pains. Today, I want to name two. SDI needs to continually hold that tension that exists in honoring the Christian contemplative roots of our organization while we continue to explore and examine new horizons and what's emerging as the practice of spiritual companionship meets today's spiritual needs. SDI also needs to be grounded in who we are and clear about who we aren't. While spiritual directors support the growth and development of spiritual seekers, SDI's core mission is to support the development of the profession of spiritual companionship and the growth of spiritual guides. There were moments where it was challenging to be on the coordinating council navigating this new growth. We had a board meeting yesterday. It's still here. I joke, but only partly, that arguing, questioning, and even complaining are a well-honed Jewish spiritual practice. And at least I know it's at least true for me. Maybe that's because the Talmud, which is one of Judaism's sacred texts, is a collection of conversations of rabbis from different eras and different schools of thought in dialogue and disagreement around questions of Jewish life and how we act and relate to other humans. The Talmud, which many Jews don't even explore, is framed around questions that my ancestors were exploring. It weaves historical references from the Hebrew Bible with opinions of past leaders and later interpretations. It preserves the opinions and contributions of many voices over centuries, focusing on the outcome of an answer to a question more on the richness of the discussion that continued over many generations. I want to show you a picture of it because it's so unique. So hang on just a second. So this is not colored, but can everybody see that? My fellow coordinating council members, raise your hands if you can see. Okay, great, it's up. So this is what a page of Talmud looks like. You have some primary text here with a question in it. You have a major commentator from one era, and you have other commentaries from rabbis that are hundreds and hundreds of years later. It's hard to enter into, but it's pretty amazing. And the reason that I wanted to share it, it's laid out like the rabbis were sitting around a table discussing, very much like our conversations on the coordinating council. And to study Talmud is to join together into a 1,000-year-old process of discernment, how to be a human being and how to practice Judaism. I didn't realize it at the time, but as I started reflecting on my time in the council, I now see that our council meetings made me feel a little like being inside of a modern day version of the Talmud. The council has by its intention members from different religious and faith traditions with backgrounds bringing different variety of voices, experiences, and orientations. We sat around the table when we could be together or in Zoom squares on a screen, working through challenging decisions, raising questions, and holding the tension of the pull towards new directions while honoring the historical roots of SDI and spiritual direction. We needed to allow the time to discern together how best to navigate the tension inherent in SDI's growth and evolution. Trusting in the process and our experience with discernment ultimately brought us to more clarity and how to move forward in ways that would honor both old and new. These discussions always led us to a shared wisdom that was deeper for everyone. And my time on the council included a lot of hard work, and it was also incredibly sacred. And as I leave, what I know will stay with me the most were these amazing sacred discussions. We explored, questioned, listened, and discerned together. We shared and learned more deeply, as Cynthia said, about each other's traditions. We shared spiritual practices, experiences, and wisdom. I thank the continuing council members in advance and the new incoming members for continuing to shepherd SDI in this sacred way on its journey of how best to listen to and respond to what's emerging in the field of spiritual companionship as we expand our view of the field and our understanding of what spiritual direction is today. And this is an important moment right now, a time of great upheaval. The Talmud was Jews' response to the upheaval of its time. The temple, the center of our religious expression, had been destroyed. Jews were in a diaspora without a homeland and a central place of coming together. And Judaism was really crashing. Our world is in a new crash. Our traditional religious institutions and practices aren't speaking to the majority of people. Old destructive patterns of patriarchy, white privilege, racism, and economic injustice of people of color are starting to crumble, giving way to what I hope and many hope is a great turning, a needed course correction. And while turning is wonderful, other crashes that come with it are not as welcome. Breakdowns in our health with the pandemic, breakdowns in our healthcare, economic instability, and the challenge of climate change and our planet's very existence. Right now, the world is being called to listen in a way to unlock different ways of knowing and enable new responses. As spiritual guides, we are trained to listen. Since I came on the council 6 years ago, we've been wrestling with and trying to discern how best to respond to the question of what is the role of SDI and how can spiritual directors best support the social issues of our time? With the recent events of the past few weeks, the additional question I'm holding is, how can spiritual directors and SDI best help others to listen? In that vein, I want to share with you a way of ritualizing deep listening that I learned on the first night of my first training residency in the first group spiritual direction. Rabbi Rami Shapiro used it, and to date, I've only seen it in Jewish spaces. I use it all the time with Jewish groups, and I want to share it with you today as a parting gift. So let me see if I can screen share again. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that. There we go. I wasn't even at Microsoft and I can't figure out how to do this. So hang on. That's not what I want to share. So hang on. There it is. Okay. All righty. I hope you all can see this. Thumbs up from somebody on the council. Okay, great. So Rami taught that when we as speaker felt complete with what we had shared, we would say Debarti, which in Hebrew means I have spoken. Each witness then would respond to the speaker Shemati, which means I have heard. As spiritual guides, we know how to make time for silence and pauses that can be necessary for speech to emerge from a deeper place. As spiritual companions, we know how to listen deeply and allow our simple presence to affirm what has emerged into words in another without needing to comment on it. I've found Debarti and Shemati in groups helps others honor and signal to one another their participation in that deep listening. So even though I can't hear you, I invite you to try it with me. Let yourself say the words. So you can say Debarti. That means I have spoken. And the response is Shemati. That means I have heard. Okay. In closing, I want to say that I'm excited to see what new ways will emerge for spiritual companions to bring the healing power of deep listening to our world that needs it now more than ever. I'm excited to see what will unfold for me. How will I be called in different ways to support SDI and the ministry and profession of spiritual guidance? What will be the next invitation for me to respond to spiritual challenges and needs of our time? Originally, I was going to deliver this farewell at the conference in Santa Fe. I imagined what it would be like to lead over 1,000 spiritual companions singing together in the ballroom while I looked at all of your faces. Today, we won't be able to hear the wonderful chorus we could create with our voices, or be in each other's presence, or even see one another. Nonetheless, I hope we can all feel our connection to one another and this wonderful work that we do. I invite you to imagine the faces of friends and colleagues you have met through SDI as you chant along with me. The chant that I want to close our time with today is by the duo Mamoose. And let me share it again. Okay. There it is. Thumbs up if you can see it. Okay, we're good. All right. The words speak to the questions I'm holding now, and I invite you, excuse me, to hold them with me. How can we as spiritual companions best help the fires of spirits yearning to be heard and empowered? How can we be the best allies with our communities of color and support the necessary seeds of change in our society and our world? How can we help bring deep listening to situations and conversations that will support every person to thrive? And how can spiritual companioning help cultivate awareness of the deep well that connects us all? I'm going to do the chant twice through. I'm going to invite you to sing to your heart's content with me. I lead a monthly contemplative chanting service, and this is how we do it because we can't sing together over Zoom because of the buffering. But please feel free to sing along or listen and let it resonate inside of you. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. And what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. Debarti.
Shemati. Thank you, Wendie.
Thank you, Wendie. We're all going to miss you on the council, but we are looking forward to seeing you in person in Santa Fe next year and in many other places in the midst of our community with your usual enthusiasm and ideas and passion. And what a wonderful contribution you've made to this organization. And so on behalf of everyone, thank you. And all the many thank yous that have come through the chat and through the and through other panels.
Thank you.